Hey adventurers, Jacob here from Local Adventure, and today we're going to be talking about the best cheap vlogging camera. Now this is a lot of cameras to check out all in one video, so we're going to break it up into a few different videos and check them out based on categories. That way you can kind of compare them apples to apples. We're going to be looking at some action cams, camcorders, larger cameras, but mostly compact cameras, and break them down based on price. Now when I say cheap, I know that's kind of relative, but all of these cameras are under $500. In these reviews, we're not going to really talk about the technical aspects of the cameras or the specs of them, but really talk about how does it feel, what is it like to use, and then give you side-by-side comparisons of the footage right out of camera so that you can decide for yourself what you like the best. Now I'm sure you've heard it before, but the best camera is the camera that you have with you. We get the question all the time, what's the best camera I should buy? And my first question is always, what's your budget? Usually I suggest writing down what you want to accomplish with the camera. Some people only want to do photos, some people want to do video and photos, other people only want to focus on video. Then compare the cameras that fit within your budget and see which one fits your needs the best. So with that said, let's get started. We're going to start off by looking at the cheapest cameras that we'll be checking out. And when I'm looking for a camera, there are a few things that really stand out to me, especially for usability. You know, we're looking at something that is portable, easy to carry around. I'm a pretty lazy shooter, so you know, if it's something that's going to take me a lot of time to set up and get ready, I'm probably going to end up missing the shot. Now, these are all really small and compact. That's not going to be an issue with any of these. The other thing we look at is going to be the screens. All three of these only have screens on the back. They don't flip, which is unfortunate because if you are vlogging, it's hard to see. But at the same time, because these are so small and easy to maneuver, for the most part, you know where you're going to be in that frame, and you can pretty much make sure that you're centered right there. Of course, we're going to be doing a side-by-side comparison, but the other thing that I will talk about is whether or not there is a microphone input. That way you have the option to add additional mic if the sound quality isn't great on these. I think on all three of these there are no mic inputs, but that's okay. If that's the case and you still want better sound, you could use a setup similar to what I'm doing right now, which is a lav system, and I actually just hook it up right to my phone and record through that. All right, so the cameras we're going to be checking out. We have the Sony Cybershot W800. Comes in at a whopping $98, by far the cheapest camera that we'll be looking at. Next up, the Panasonic DCT S7. This one comes in at $198, and we'll talk about why. Last up, the Canon PowerShot SX 620HS. This one comes in at $249, the most expensive of the three. All right, let's start off with this Sony Cybershot. First impressions, this box is tiny in comparison to all the other boxes this thing came in, and at first I thought it was just an accessory, but the camera was inside. Opening it up, it comes with the camera, a battery which is already inside, charger right here, a lanyard which I'm going to leave off of it, and an instruction manual. Now this camera is incredibly light. I could easily toss it in my pocket and would never feel that it's there. Watch this. No bulge, nothing. So that is a nice thing about it. Also, it's $98. That's just, it's cheap. Now quickly talking about some of the specs. In terms of video, it only shoots at 720p. For those of you guys who don't know a bunch about the technical aspects of cameras, if you're watching a YouTube video, it's usually at 1080p. So this will be a little bit smaller than that. It's the only camera we're looking at that shoots in such low resolution. But again, it's because it's $98. It also shoots at 30 frames per second. And the only thing you need to know about that is it means that you can't shoot any sort of slow motion with it. In terms of shooting time, it shoots 29 minutes uninterrupted, and for any of the cameras that have limits, that's about standard, 29 to 30 minutes. As I mentioned earlier, the screen is only on the back, which means that I can't really tell if I'm focused or if I'm looking at myself, if I'm trying to shoot myself. When I'm shooting other things, it's okay because I can see that, but this, I'm just gonna have to trust that it's right on me. The lens is about a 26mm to 130mm. Again, don't worry about it if that doesn't fully make sense to you. We'll look at it and show you side-by-side examples. Lastly, there is no microphone input to this or any way to actually mount one on there anyways. This would be a camera if you just want something really easy, something you don't stress about, something you don't worry about, because if anything happens to it, at least it's not a huge investment. Next up, let's look at the Panasonic DCT S7. And just based on the cover of this and the camera build itself, you can tell that it is more so for rugged photography. It is waterproof. Inside the box, we have the camera, the battery, the instructions, got the charger cable, and again, a lanyard if you want to throw that on, which if you're taking it underwater, highly recommend it. Now going into the specs of this camera actually shoots 4K at 30 frames a second. So that means they're massive files at regular speed. Now for those of you guys trying to decide, do I need 4K or not? It's again, partly what you're gonna use it for. Most videos you watch on YouTube or most things that you're gonna be editing for home probably is not in 4K. Plus, with 4K, editing becomes a little bit of a hassle unless you have a really powerful computer. Even when I try to edit 4K videos on my laptop, which is a 2015 MacBook Pro, it's working hard and I can't usually preview what I'm doing. It's kind of a pain to edit. But at the same time, 4K gives you flexibility. If you want to edit in 1080 but you're using 4K, think about it this way. If this is 1080, 4K is you're shooting maybe this big. So now you can get the same quality of video for that 1080, but actually just zoom in on any certain portion of this massive shot that you have. But again, editing kind of sucks unless you have a really powerful computer. Now, if you shoot at 1080, which is a little more standard for what you're watching most of the time on YouTube, you can actually shoot at 60 frames per second, which is slow motion. It's about half the speed of what you would be normally doing. So, you know, rather than me walking like this, I could get a little bit of this cool cinematic thing. Does it look like I'm in slow-mo? The record time is 30 minutes on this, and again, the screen is only on the back, so we're still running into that issue of, am I in focus? Am I right in the center of the screen where I wanted? Am I capturing something in the background that I wanted? But a lot of these cameras are going to be in that same situation. It's pretty comparable. It's 28 millimeters to 128 millimeters, which is, again, we'll see it in action. It's about 5 times what you're seeing. Plus, if you do a lot of water activities, this thing is waterproof up to 31 meters, which is actually really deep. Some of the action cameras like GoPro and the DJI one that we'll be checking out, they're usually only waterproof up to 10, 11 meters. So you can go down 102 feet. And if you're clumsy, it says it's shockproof up to 2 meters, meaning if you drop it or anything like that, it will supposedly be okay. I'm not gonna test it because I do have to return these cameras, but it is something that you should consider if you are clumsy with your gear or you're just doing a lot of stuff where you're moving a lot and there's a good chance that you'll be dropping it. The camera itself is hefty, it's big. Compared to this Sony, you know, it's much bigger than the Sony itself. But again, it's built to be more like a tank. It feels really significant in your hand. There's some weight to it. In terms of in my pocket, it fits, but it sticks out. You can see that it's like, oh, there's a camera in your pocket. So it's not as easy to travel that way. But again, you're probably doing a lot more with this than just trying to throw it in your pocket for day-to-day adventures. Plus, one feature I really like is on the lock flap where you access the battery and the SD card, there is a bright red indicator if it's not locked. The reason I say this is we've gifted my dad a waterproof camera and he forgot to lock the latch, so after like the first use, it was broken. Again, there's no mic input, so you would have to use something like this lav setup, or we'll test out what the mic sounds like that is built in. The last camera we're gonna be checking out of the 3 of these is gonna be the Canon PowerShot SX 620 HS that comes in at $249. Inside the box, you're gonna find the battery in the camera, you're gonna find an external charger, and a lanyard. Now I mentioned this external charger because the other 2 cameras, the way you charge it, you would have to plug it directly into the camera, into the wall. I like these a little bit better because it gives you the option to buy additional batteries and charge them up while you're using your camera with the current battery in it. You don't have to plug it right into the wall. Now there may be options where you can buy accessories to do that for those certain batteries on those other cameras. But again, we're just gonna talk about what you get right out of the box. So some technical aspects of this camera. For video, it shoots at 1080p, 30 frames a second. So good enough for YouTube stuff and most of the things that you're gonna be watching at regular speed. None of that cool slow-mo if that is what you wanted. It has a shoot time of 30 minutes and the screen is only on the back. So again, you're running into this issue, but like I said, I don't usually have trouble centering myself. It's just whether or not I know if it's a focus or things I can see that I want in the background. The lens itself is a little more robust. It is from 25 millimeters to 625 millimeters. So whereas the other 2 cameras were only 5 times that zoom, this one goes up to like 25 times, a lot further. But we'll see what the quality is like. This one also has a little pop-up flash as opposed to the other ones where they are built in. And there is no mic connection either on this one. The camera itself feels nice. It definitely doesn't have the weight to this, but it still feels good, and this one feels plastic, the Sony, whereas this one actually feels like it's a little more quality made. It has this little nice, like, it looks like carbon fiber grip to help you make sure to hold on to it, as well as a little thumb catch right here. So ergonomically, it feels really nice. It feels easy to use. And because we shoot mostly Canon, the menu system is a lot more familiar to us. One thing I forgot to mention, these two cameras, the Panasonic and the Canon, do have Wi-Fi capabilities so that if you want to transfer photos or video to your phone immediately, you can do that. The Sony does not have that. So now we're going to take these cameras out to a few different settings, let you check them out side by side, what they look like, and let you really compare which quality you like best. Now, to make sure that they are all equal, we're going to be shooting at 1080p at 30 frames a second, which means at normal speed, but we'll be testing them through the same scenarios. Because I'll be busy shooting with these as vlog cameras, I'm not going to be shooting any sort of behind the scenes of me shooting. Does that make sense? And I put together this kind of crazy rig, and hopefully it works, to where we'll be able to compare them while I shoot all three in the same scenario. I am gonna look like a crazy person. Also, we are still in quarantine, so I am going to stick around my apartment area just so I don't have to go out too far and also won't have to interact with people. As I mentioned before, we're going to be using only the onboard microphone so you can see what the quality is like. Look at this thing. This will work for the compact cameras. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the bigger cameras yet, but that's for a future episode. Also, this is going to be interesting because the cameras are only in the back. Hopefully I'll be somewhat centered in all of them, but we will see. Yeah, that's not bad. This is the ultimate vlogger. All right, so we're gonna start off by testing these cameras on the side of the road. I'm sure vlogging, you're gonna have plenty of times where you have a lot of road noise, so the cars are gonna be coming by. I have sun right directly on my face right now. I have no idea if it's super, overexposed or anything of that sort. You'll be able to see that. And you know what? Let's flip it around. So we got some backlit now, right? Sun's behind me. I might be super dark. You'll be able to compare the three cameras based on this. I'm also trying to stay as steady as possible so that you can see what the stabilization looks like on the camera, but you know, there's going to be obviously a little bit of movement with that. So, lots of car noise. I'll keep talking for a little bit longer just so you can compare what it's like with the onboard microphone when there is noise driving by you. The cars are literally right here within 10 to 20 feet of me, and you can see them right there. Next up, let's test the zoom on these cameras. I'm actually going to flip the cameras around. There's a lake right in front of me. We're just gonna zoom to see how far we can get. There are a couple seagulls out there. Maybe I'll try to focus on that. We'll see. Seagull. Wow. As I mentioned earlier, the Canon has much more zoom than the other two cameras, and you can see that there. Obviously, when it was zoomed in all the way, I had a hard time really holding it still and in focus because every micro movement gets amplified, but you could see clear winner in terms of zoom and even like the picture quality of that. Okay, so next up, I am going to run up some stairs and just see what the stabilization looks like on it. We're going to try to hold it as still as possible and yeah, check it out. Okay, you guys ready? Up the stairs. Try not to trip. Okay, and let's go down the stairs with the cameras pointing down so you can see it from that angle as well. Still out of breath. I'm out of shape. Man. All right, so that's interesting. The Sony just turned off on me. I had plugged these cameras in all night to make sure that they're charged, and it shut off. So either I did not plug it in correctly or the battery is really bad. Regardless, I'm not gonna pick up that footage anymore. And that just kind of shows the user friendliness or the usability of the camera. There are two more things I want to test. We're going to actually do some B-roll now, which is basically just things that you would mix into a video montage. It's tighter footage. It's stuff that when you want to, put music over it, you can actually show details of where you are and what you're doing. So I did one shot of that with the Sony earlier, which you'll see, and the rest of the footage is just going to be with these two cameras. Lastly, let's look at some low light filming. This is our bathroom, excuse the mess, but I'm literally shooting with what light is coming in from outside in our bedroom. I did turn the light on in there. So it's dark, not incredibly dark, but definitely on the dark side of things. I'll up the light a little bit. Okay, now it is obviously brighter in here, and that is the quality of footage. So you can see if it's grainy or not. This is also a much more echoey room. Echo, can you hear it? So that will also test the mic in this scenario. So I hope that footage helped you decide which one you like better. I didn't get too many weird looks, but also because there weren't too many people out there. Of the three cameras, honestly, the Sony is cheap, but I would spend just a little bit more on one of these two. Now, even though the Lumix is waterproof and has flexibility for the 4K and slow-mo, as you could see in the quality, I still thought the Canon shot better, and that's why it costs a little bit more, so I would personally pick up this one. Thanks for watching this review. I hope it helped you decide if you're looking kind of in this price range for a new vlogging camera. Be sure to click the links in the description below if you do want to pick them up or if you want to look into more of the specs. Special thanks to B&H for sending us these cameras so that we could check them out. If you are going to buy a camera, I highly recommend buying from them. They know their gear. They have amazing customer service. And if you have any further questions, you can actually chat with one of them. Lastly, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to see the entire list of the cameras that we're reviewing and kind of compare them side by side, we have a whole blog post about that. Again, link below. See you guys soon. Kind of want to go out in public with this thing now.